Blues is a simple genre. We are always encountering the same chord progressions, we're basically always using the same kinds of chords, and so often our soloing approach over the top is more or less the same. So we can kind of get away as blues players with not diving so deep into the theory as, players in other genres like jazz might have to do, for example, where you have to have a really deep understanding of chord harmony and how what you're doing as a lead player is floating over the top and all that kind of good stuff. But having said that, if you understand a few key concepts as a blues player, I really feel it is incredibly empowering. You understand what you're doing at a deeper level, you can dissect and learn songs much more quickly, and you'll just have much more confidence as a player when you are jamming, playing over a backing track, learning songs, whatever it is, you're really just put into a different position. So that's what this lesson is all about. And it aims to teach you and demystify three big concepts. Number one, what chords are and how they're formed. Number two, how chord progressions are formed. So, why are certain chords and patterns of chords appearing in songs? What the terms like 1, 4, 6, 5 and things like that mean. And number three, the blues form and that kind of 1, 4, 5 that we hear all the time, or that you may have heard all the time, and just breaking down what that actually is and what's going on there. So, plenty to cover. It's going to be a whistle-stop tour. Let's dive in. Part 1, chords. To understand what chords are and how they are created, we need to start with the major scale. And we are going to look at the C major scale because there's no sharps and flats, nice and easy. Now, you don't need to actually worry about learning to play the major scale or really, getting the shapes under your fingers just yet. This is just a theoretical thing to show you what is going on. So, if we take our C major scale, we have the notes of C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Looks like this. It's a 7-note scale. Now, we form chords and we can think about chord formation happening out of this major scale. How? By forming triads. A 3-note chord in which each note in the chord is separated by a third interval, by the interval of a third. Okay? All sounds rather complicated, but the easier way to think about it is play a note, skip a note, play a note, skip a note, until you have 3 notes. So if we start on that note of C, we would skip the note of D and then play the note of E. Skip the note of F and then play the note of G. If we put those 3 notes together and actually play them at the same time, you can hear that we have formed a chord, a C major chord to be specific. Now, if that's looking a little bit complex or you're not kind of getting it straight in your mind, then don't worry. We are going to bring the Happy Blues whiteboard into play to make this a little bit easier for you. Haven't yet got the Happy Blues Band logo in the corner, but we have got a smiley face, so hopefully it's the kind of the next best thing. So here we have our 7 notes of the scale, C, D, E, F, G, A and B, and I've just shown that process that we've gone through. So take a note, skip a note, play a note, skip a note, play a note, and we have then C, E, G, the 3 notes in that chord, okay? Now, we can go through all of the notes in the scale and follow that same process. So we would start on D, we would miss E, play F, miss G, and then play A, and so on. We would go to E, you would start on E, miss F, play G, miss A, play B. If I take that back to the guitar for a second and show you what then happens, you'll hear that you end up with notes of different qualities. Just give me 1 minute. I've dropped a pick. I'll be back in a second. I'm back. So, if we take that same process and we start on D, and then we play F and then A, then we end up with this D chord, which happens to be a minor chord. Okay, so we had C, E, G, major chord, and then D, F, A, minor chord. It's still a triad because there are 3 notes and each of those notes is separated by the interval of a third. But the specific distances between those third intervals is not quite the same. So in C, E to G, if we kind of go laterally here for a second, we'd have the note of C here, the note of E here, 4 frets higher, and then the note of G up here, 3 frets higher than the note of E, and a total of 7 frets higher than the C. If we shift that up to D and we start on D here, then you will notice that the note of F, the next note up, is separated by only 3 frets rather than 4. And then the note up of after that, the A, is 4 frets beyond that note of F, and it's 7 frets higher than our D. So the total distance between the first note of the chord and the third note of the chord, the D to the A or the C to the G, are the same in both chords. But the distance between that first note and the second note is different. In the major chord, it's 1 fret higher. So the interval is slightly different. So here we have our kind of fundamental differences between a major chord and a minor chord. In a major chord, we have the 1, the major third, and then the 5th. And in our minor chords, we have the 1, the minor third, and then the 5th. Both 3-note chords, both triads, just that one little difference. So anytime you encounter a major chord like a C major, G major, D major, whatever it might be, you're playing those 3 intervals. 1, major third, 5. Okay, 1, 3, 5. And every time you're playing a minor chord, so like D minor, E minor, C minor, okay, you're playing 1 flat 3 or minor 3, 5, okay? And that really is how we can start to think about chord formation. We have our major triads, we have our minor triads, and they're built out of this, or we can think of them being as built out of this system of the major scale, which, as you'll see, kind of really brings things together beautifully in our step number 2, which you're going to head over to right now. Part 2. Chord progressions. Now, if we return to that C major scale, and we follow that process of taking each individual note or degree of the scale and then building a chord from there, so we start on C, play a note, skip a note, play a note, C, E, G. Do the same for D, D, F, A, play a note, skip a note. E, going E, G, B. And so on. If we follow that process, we will end up with triads built off every degree, each degree of the scale. Now, because the scale itself is not built with sort of even spacing, we're not playing like, there's not 2 frets between every note. Between some notes, there's 1 fret, 2, so on. We end up with a series of different chords, some major, some minor, and one a little bit wonky, which we'll talk about in a moment. But we end up with something that looks like this. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is one that I prepared earlier. So, we have our major scale, the notes of that scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. We have the degrees of the scale, and down here in Roman numerals, I mean, honestly, why it has to be Roman numerals sometimes, I just think this is like a sick joke played on students who are finding it difficult to get their head around music theory. But here we have the series of major or minor chords, and we'll talk about that little wonky one down there. I also bought the world's biggest whiteboard, I think, so I've got very long arms, but I can't even stretch over to that point. Anyway, hopefully you can see what I'm pointing to. So, whenever you see a major, an uppercase Roman numeral like this, so it's a big one, okay? That is a major chord. The lowercase Roman numeral, like here, the 2, is a minor chord, and so on. So, in any time you follow this in a major key, doesn't matter if it's C major, D major, G major, A major, whatever, you are finding, when you build a chord off the first degree, you will find a major chord. So the first chord is major. When you do it on the second degree, a minor chord. Third chord, minor chord. Fourth chord, major. Fifth, major. Sixth, minor. And seventh, diminished. We'll come to that in a moment. But major, minor, minor, major, major, minor. So what does that mean? That means that if someone tells you, and this is this for me was like a groundbreaking moment when I learned this first. This now gives you a kind of a language and a structure for understanding what is happening in songs. So if someone says we're playing in the key of C and we're going to do a 1, 4, 5, well, the first note of the major scale is C, then you go D, E, F, so F is the 4, and G is the 5, okay? So, and we know, following that system again, that the 1, 4, and 5 are all major chords. So we would play C major, F major, G major, and then let's listen to that. Lovely, okay? And the same would be true if I then said, okay, let's play a 1, 6, 4, 5. Okay, so now we would follow that same process. The 6th degree is an A minor, and the rest would be the same. So it just becomes this kind of fun process, or at least I think it's fun, of connecting the dots. Okay, what are the notes in the scale? What type of chord is built off that scale degree? Okay, 1, 4, 5 in G is this, 1, 6, 5, 4 in A is this, and so on. And once you have those two things, then suddenly terms like 1, 4, 5 in a blues hopefully start to become a little bit clearer. And understanding your favorite songs also hopefully starts to become a bit clearer, because so many iconic tracks are just built out of this kind of major framework that we're covering now. It's a wonderful starting point for all this stuff. Now, before we look at the kind of blues form and explain a little bit what's going on there, let's just have a little quick aside onto that diminished idea, built off the 7th scale degree, because you might be less familiar with what's going on there. So if we follow that process of stacking thirds, playing a note, skipping a note, playing a note, we end up with those major and minor chords until we get to the 7th degree. Now, in the key of C major, the 3 notes in that final chord would be B, D, and then F. Okay, which if we kind of put them together, like, let me just... Oof. So it's quite a eye-wateringly spicy chord. Now the reason for that is, in all of the other chords that we've encountered, we have the 1, either the minor 3 or the flat 3, or the 3, and then the 5. So the overall distance intervallic distance between the first note in the chord and the last note is maintained. It's always been those 7 frets, and it's always that kind of 5th interval. So our C, G up here, our D, our F, that's A, beg your pardon, and so on. With this last chord, that's not the case. We have the B to D, which is the 1 to the flat 3 as normal. But then the B to the F is only 6th fret. And that's a flat 5th, okay, rather than a 5th. So we've taken that kind of like very stable sound of the 5th interval, which is this kind of a sound, and we've created this very tense and dissonant sound. So we've taken the very kind of stable sound of that 5th interval, which in the key of C is this, and we've shifted it down 1 fret to get this. So that diminished chord has a very intense dissonant sound, and it's not going to be used, or it isn't used, as widely as all of the other 6 chords that appear in this major scale framework. It definitely has its uses. You will encounter it in the blues. It sounds great, but it's definitely not as widely used as the rest of it. And that is pretty much the kind of the intro to understanding how chord progressions are formed. Now, there are hundreds of different ways that musicians then take this and do other things with it and switch chords out and in and swap and do all this good stuff. But this first step is absolutely crucial for you to understand what terms like 1-4-5 are and how this stuff all kind of works and fits together. Little final bonus point, just while it comes to my mind, is that because the difference between a major chord and a minor chord is just that one interval, the major third down to the minor third, and the minor third appears 1 fret lower than the major third, the difference between your major and minor chords is only just 1 fret. So if you take like an A major, very familiar shape, the A minor is exactly the same, except one note is lower. E major, and so it goes like that. So that might seem overly simplistic or might seem obvious, but it's just this, again, this first step to helping you look beyond individual chord shapes and look beyond learning each individual chord. Okay, what's this shape? What's this shape? And instead starting to see patterns. So that's a little final bonus point. Now though, we're going to head over to step number 3, the final part of this, I appreciate, theoretically dense lesson, which is going to unlock the blues form and give you an understanding of what is going on over there. Step number 3, understanding 7th chords and the blues. So if we just follow that structure and we're in our major scale and we go C, F, G to play the 1-4-5, which you may well have kind of come up with so far or come across so far, you're going to get this kind of an idea. It doesn't exactly sort of bring to mind the playing of B.B. King or Gary Moore or Stevie Ray Vaughan or Albert King or any of those blues legends, because there is a crucial step missing. And this introduces us to 7 chords. So, what is going on with 7th chords? We have major 7 chords, minor 7 chords, and dominant 7th chords. The last one is the big one that's important for us, but that is kind of and there are other types of 7th chords on the diminished, but we're not going to worry too much about that today. So, if we go back to our system of building out those chords and stacking thirds on top of each other, so playing a note, skipping a note, playing a note, skipping a note, then if we start on our C, we have C, E, G, and then B. Okay, so now adding that note of B in turns our C major chord from this into this. Ho ho! Jazzy! Okay, so it really starts to twist what's going on, and if I just pull out the whiteboard again, you can hopefully just visualize that we have that same process again. C, E, G, B. Play a note, skip a note, play a note, skip a note. Now, when you follow that process on the one chord, you end up with a major 7 chord, C major 7. When you follow that process on the D chord, so the minor chord, you would end up with D, F, A, C. And that would give you a minor 7 chord, okay? So we'd have a D minor 7 chord, adding that 7th degree in, which would sound like this. So we go from our D minor to D minor 7. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sound. And one that I think the major 7 chords sound less obviously happy, and the minor 7 chords sound less obviously sad. So you kind of get a bit more ambiguity in what you're doing. Now, if you follow that process through, you're going to get major 7 chords on the major degrees and minor 7 chords on the minor degrees. Except, and this is super important, for the 5th degree of the scale, because this is where the blues stuff comes in. So if we follow that through and we go to the note of G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. If we build a 7th chord from there, we will end up with the notes of G, B, D, and F. Okay? Now, if we take that kind of those 4 notes, G, B, D, and F, and put them together, the first bit of that, the G, B, and the D, follows that major chord process that we've seen before. The distances between those notes are the same. But when you get up to the F, so you have the G, B, D, here, the distance between that final note, the D, and the F is a minor third. It's just 3 notes. In all of the other major style chords, when you do that process, you end up with a major third interval there. So you end up with a 1, 3, 5, 7. So in key of, starting with C, you end up with C, E, G, and then B at the top. So the difference between that G and the B is 4 frets. But here, when we start on that 5th degree, we have a minor third up there, and it's only 3 frets. Okay? If we just visualize that on our trusty whiteboard for a second, then we see what's going on. We end up with the 1, the 3, the 5, and the flat 7, which is the super, super important note because it changes the quality of the chord. We don't have a major 7 chord, we have a dominant 7th chord. The function of those chords is different, the sound of those chords is different, and we can immediately see this if we take, say, we'll go up here, a G major 7, to then a G dominant 7th. Or if we go here, same sort of thing, G major 7 versus, okay, dominant 7th chords are the lifeblood of the blues. We encounter them all over the place, and when we play our 1, 4, 5 progressions, we are typically playing all of those chords as dominant 7th chords. So instead of our C major, F major, G major, which is all just too happy for what we want to sing about and talk about, we go C dominant 7th, so C7, F7, G7, and back to the C7. Now, some people will look at the blues as just its own kind of thing. It's got nothing to do with this major scale harmony, but I quite like to sort of think of it as a twist on what's going there, because you can start with that process of following the notes, building the chords out from it. You end up with these different 7th chords, and then the blues just says, hey, forget that. Let's just turn the 1-4-5. Let's take those 1-4-5 major chords. Let's turn them all dominant 7th. Because in that dominant 7th chord, you have the 1, the 3, the 5, which are major. Within that little minor, that flat 7 interval on top, which is bringing that bittersweet quality into what's going on. Okay? Super, super important stuff. Now, if we just kind of bring this together to close the loop on that 7th chord idea, when we follow that process through, we end up with the same, series of major chords, but now we've extended them, we've added onto them these 7th degrees of the scale. So we have C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7. We have our anomalous 5th degree in the way that we just spoke about, G7, A minor 7, and then the diminished degree, we end up with this minor 7 flat 5 because we have that minor 7 style chord, but the 5 is a flat 5 interval instead of a 5 interval, okay? There's a lot going on here, but again, this is so important and so foundational and will help you sort of immediately unlock and understand so much of the music that you listen to. Now in the blues, we switch things out. We make that C7, we make that F7, we make that G7. And all of this would apply, or does apply, if we were in the key of G or A or whatever it might be. Those same kind of rules and things, all the same pieces of logic that we followed throughout apply there. Now, if this is like totally blown your head to pieces and you are like feeling very overwhelmed or stressed, or this just feels totally impenetrable, then do not worry. When I first encountered this, and I taught myself all this stuff basically, it took me a bit of time. It took me a few cracks to the whip. I didn't just like immediately assimilate it all on day one. It was going back to it. It was just trying to take some of these pieces into the playing. You go, okay, so hang on, what's the dominant 7th? Okay, right, yeah, that's what I'm playing. What's the 1-4-5? Okay, that's what's going on. And just returning. And you have, everything that you need here, but just feel free to come back to it in 2 weeks, a month, whatever it might be. But as you go forward and you encounter songs, blues progressions, all that stuff, keep in mind the key pieces of this lesson, which is major chord, 1, 3, 5. Minor chord, 1, flat 3, 5. Major 7 chord, adding to that, 1, 3, 5, 7. Minor 7 chord, 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. Dominant chord, the big one in the blues, 1, 3, 5, flat 7. And putting that all together in this structure that we end up with in the major scale, and then twisting that a little bit in the blues to give us those dominant chords in the 1-4-5. Whew! Take a breath, take a break. I've thrown so much at you. If you have any questions, you know how to reach, you know where I am, and I'm always around to chat this stuff through. So don't feel that pressure to get to grips with this all today. It can just unfold naturally over time. And I know a lot of you guys, appreciate sort of different forms of learning, not just the videos and the displays, but maybe diagrams and all that sort of stuff. So head below, you're going to see and find all of that stuff to give you that kind of extra little bit of visual support to help you kind of bring some of these ideas to life. That's it, guys. Thank you for sticking with me on this one. I know at times it's been a little intense. I know I've bombarded you with a lot of information, but I really think it will help. And it just does so much to give you that strong foundation that you need, not just for the blues, but also for your playing in general. Good luck. I'll see you soon.